I was approached by Christopher Bidmead, who was then script editor, and he'd got my name from BBC radio drama. I'd done some plays over there, and someone thought I was worth recommending. And he contacted me and asked if I'd be prepared to deliver a storyline to him, and I did. And after a long pause, he came back and said, "What I do is scene breakdown, which is to detail the whole script, but only in a couple of lines for each scene." I did that. That seemed to be okay, but then for some reason there was another long delay. And then he finally came back and said, would I like to write the whole thing, which is what I did. A girlfriend I had at the time, she was doing Charles II, and she happened to mention the Great Fire and the Plague, and we was just talking about what happened to the rats afterwards, because they died, because they was prone to the plague as well. And I thought that might be an interesting idea for a science fiction thing, of how someone comes back. And then the Doctor Who bit just slipped in around it. You've got to bear in mind that you've got a 6-day studio. In our case, I think we had 5, and a day's location. And that you have to take on board. When I briefed writers, I always said, you've got 6 studio days, you can have 6 sets, you can have 20 or 30 extras, and about 10 talking parts. And people used to say, well, that's a sort of fascist way of script editing. I said, no, I don't want someone to come back with a movie script costing millions of pounds to make, and we just have to say, no, we can't do it. There is a reality there which we've got to take on board. Christopher Bidmead didn't want to stay, and is it Anthony Root? Anthony Root came in. He was a staff man, and he was asked, he wanted to be a script editor, and they said, you've got to do a certain amount of script editing to prove you can do it. And he came in 3 months, and then he didn't want to stay on, so they put him on Chinese Detective, I think. And I was called in to cover the 3 months and stayed for 5 years. And I think people don't realise that how much rewriting goes on. It's not because the writer is necessarily bad or an idiot, it's because time is a factor. The person isn't really up to it. I was talking to Stephen Moffat the other day, and he was saying about commissioning writers and how difficult it is, and he named several that, I won't tell you who are quite well known and have tried and failed dismally. Now, it isn't because they have the skills. I think it's they haven't got the overall, be able to take the concept on board and do it with a bit of thrust and energy. I just don't think they can get their mind around the concept of what they're doing, of a Time Lord, of people travelling in time and space, and because most of them have done stuff that's set in London, you know, open, internal, whatever it is, kitchen in terraced house, and suddenly you're being presented with, well, you can go anywhere and do anything, and some of them just can't manage it. Having said that, when I did Earthshock, I wanted to make movies. I wanted it to be as fast and as furious as it could. I didn't say anything to John. I didn't say anything to Peter Grimwade, who finished up directing it. But I came up with the script, 300 scenes, a lot of action, and they got to work on it, which was amazing, really. So in a way I made my film, but it was done in studios. The thing was that I'd written the script. Anthony Root was supposed to look at it and advise, but he was so involved with his own show that nobody did. So I looked at it myself, not with a script editor's hat on, but being how dramatic would the thing be? How would it work? How would it fit into, as I said earlier, it would fit into the parameters of what Doctor Who has to take on, where people write Doctor Who has to take on board.